We should have passed the DREAM Act a long time ago. It was written by members of both parties. When it came up for a vote a year and a half ago, Republicans in Congress blocked it. The bill hadn't changed. The need hadn't changed. The only thing that had changed was politics.
Welcome back to Hardball. President Obama kept up the heat on Congress today, speaking before the National Association of Latino and Elected Officials. It's the same event where challenger Mitt Romney addressed this key constituency yesterday. The president made reference to Romney's visit, including a pause for dramatic effect.
Your speaker from yesterday has a different view. In his speech, he said that when he makes a promise to you, he'll keep it. Well, he has promised to veto the DREAM Act, and we should take him at his word. I'm just saying.
President Obama needs the Latino vote to be motivated in November. Their turnout could be key to his reelection. And that's really what today's speech was all about. David Corn is an MSNBC political analyst and author of the new book, Showdown. Aaron McPike is a reporter for Real Clear Politics. Aaron, does it seem like the president did what he needed to do to energize that constituency today?
For the most part, yes, as at least in comparison to Mitt Romney yesterday. But President Obama simply said that he would sign the DREAM Act if it made it to his desk, which deals with a smaller portion of the nation's illegal immigrants, not all 11 million of them. So we heard from a lot of Republicans today who said that while President Obama continues to support the DREAM Act, he didn't go much further than that. It energizes the Latino community to a certain degree, but not 100%. I mean, he's been saying that his door has been open for 3.5 years if Congress would like to work with him. But a lot of Republicans started chiding him today, saying that's really not enough and it doesn't show a ton of leadership.
David, to state the obvious, the importance of the Latino vote, 9% of those who came out to vote in 2008, if that number gets boosted to 10, 11, 12%, therein would lie a margin of victory in a close race overall.
Yes, and if you compare Mitt Romney's speech yesterday to Barack Obama's speech today, it's like comparing mayonnaise to salsa. Now, mayonnaise is fine. It has some binding properties to it. But Barack Obama spoke to this crowd as if he understood them and, more importantly, shared their values. He talked about comprehensive immigration reform in a way that Mitt Romney couldn't. He talked about those who crossed the Rio Grande, like those who came over in slave ships and those who came over looking for jobs 100 years ago as being part of the great American story. He talked about justice. He talked about a lot of things that Mitt Romney couldn't do. And I think he was very specific in saying that he did try to pass the DREAM Act and that it was Republican obstructionism that prevented it, and that also his door is open to comprehensive immigration reform that he has voted for in the past, and it's Republicans who can't see their way through the threshold anymore.
The difference in the reaction from the Latino crowd to Romney yesterday and Obama today was obvious. First, let's take a look at President Obama's wrap-up today.
America was built by people who said something different, who said, yes, we can, who said, sí, se puede. And as long as I have the privilege of being your president, I will be alongside you fighting for the country that we together dream of. God bless you. Thank you, Naleo. God bless the United States of America.
And the reaction to Governor Romney's speech was much more muted. It's easy to selectively edit these things, but actually, these are some of Romney's bigger applause lines.
As president, I won't settle for stopgap measures. I'll work with Republicans and Democrats to build a long-term solution. And I'll prioritize measures. I will stand for a path to legal status for anyone who is willing to stand up and defend this great nation through military service. Thank you so much, and God bless this great land. Thank you.
These reactions are borne out in a new poll of Latino voters in battleground states that shows President Obama with a huge lead. There you can see it, 74 to 18% in Arizona, Colorado 70 to 22, Florida 53-37, Nevada 69 to 20, Virginia 59 to 28. Aaron McPike, what drives these numbers? The economy, the immigration issue, a combination of both?
Oh, it's certainly a combination of both. And of course, President Obama used much of his speech to talk about his economic vision versus Mitt Romney. So, of course, that's part of it. Now, those polls that you show are largely in the West and also, of course, Florida and Virginia, where President Obama is generally doing better. I would point out, though, that the population of illegal immigrants and Hispanic voters in many of the states where Mitt Romney took his bus tour over the weekend and early this week were through the Midwest, where the population is smaller, and Mitt Romney is doing better in some of those other states. So, yes, I mean, this is where this election is going to be litigated. President Obama and his team think that they are in much better shape in the West, where they have an advantage with this group, versus Mitt Romney, who thinks he's got a path to victory through the Midwest.
David, we're a week after the president's executive order relative to the children of illegals, and still a lack of specificity from the Romney campaign on that issue.
Romney is boxed in a way that I can't think or recall a modern presidential candidate being boxed in. During the campaign, the primary campaign, as the president noted today, he promised to veto the DREAM Act, but he also had a very clear policy on undocumented immigrants. You have to leave. You have to go home, even to places that may not be your home. So once you say that, you really take yourself out of the equation when it comes to coming up with any long-term plans, which is why he couldn't define what his long-term solution is. And when you're not in favor of the directive that the president came up with last week, it sends a signal to people. If you're not going to help the children who were brought here through no fault of their own, why are you doing that? You're only doing that to pander to people who a lot of Latinos believe don't like them. So it's a threshold issue. If you can't help that part of this population, they're not going to listen to you because they think you're either in league with or you yourself don't care much for this part of the American community.
Aaron,
so put that all together, Michael, and I don't think he can recover from this. I think this is, if not a fatal wound, it's an untreatable wound.
Aaron, when Mitt Romney spoke to the Latino group yesterday, a lot of people expected him to give a specific response to President Obama's executive order that I just referenced. Here's how he handled it.
Some people have asked if I will let stand the president's executive order. The answer is that I will put in place my own long-term solution that will replace and supersede the president's temporary measure. As president, I won't settle for stopgap measures.
And not very specific. And so today, the Obama campaign put out a web video complete with the sound of a ticking stopwatch in the background, pointing out how many days have passed without a response from Romney to the Obama executive order.
You said this is just a short-term solution to a long-term problem. But would you repeal this order if you became president?
Well, let's step back and look at the issue.
Well, what would you do about it? But would you repeal this? I won't keep on about this, but just to make sure I understand, would you leave this in place while you worked out a long-term solution, or would you just repeal it?
We'll look at that. We'll look at that setting as we reach that.
It can leave you scratching your head and wondering why a man who wants to be president can't tell us a little bit more about what he would actually do.
Aaron, where do you see this issue going? He's got to come up with something with more specificity, no?
One would think, but he's not doing it because he knows if he's litigating immigration policy with the president, he's losing in a lot of places where he needs to start winning. Today, the Romney campaign put out a response, several responses from Hispanic elected officials who support Mitt Romney, saying the problem with this speech is that the Hispanic community has seen its unemployment rate increase under this president, and they don't want to talk about immigration policy. Now, of course, when Mitt Romney was running for president in 2007 and 2008, he tried to grind down his opponents by running to the right of them on immigration policy, and he did the very same thing against Rick Perry in this past primary. So if he comes to and softens his position, as many people think that he should, he runs the risk of looking like a flip-flopper, so he's really in a tough spot as far as immigration policy is concerned.
David, one explanation might be that the thunder that he expected to get with Senator Rubio by announcing their own proposal was stolen, and that, in fact, the two were going to be very, very similar.
Well, it was. But the thing is about Rubio's proposal is that Romney had not really endorsed it, and most of the Republican leadership was very lukewarm on it. Rubio was looking like an orphan with this idea. But regardless of that, the president came in and very, politically savvy way, just totally undercut any possibility that Romney had of getting cover on this issue through Marco Rubio's plan. So I doubt Marco Rubio will be on the ticket. And as I said earlier, I think because of what Aaron just said too, Romney has really put himself into concrete when it comes to the immigration issue in a way that leaves him no opportunity to have an opening with this community. And I think Obama hit it out of the park today. And if you had the Latino voters the day before the elections watch Romney's speech and the president's speech today, I'd be surprised if the split wasn't 80-20.
David, thank you. Thank you, Aaron McPike. We appreciate it.